Hi there, I'm Adam Funderburg, and I am starting the podcast today. So today is going to be the first day of the High Caliber podcast, and the structure behind it is going to be around 7 words that spell out the word created. I don't have them memorized, and I don't have them up on notes yet, but I'm just going to read it. And part of the reason why this podcast is probably going to look a little bit different, this one episode is going to look a little bit different, is because I just haven't gotten around to doing it. And I decided that today is the day that I'm just going to do it. And tomorrow is the day that I'm going to polish it and develop my structures. So the letter C is for clarity, R is for rhythm, your daily focus and habits. Encouragement is going to be about developing relationships and learning to support people. Alignment is going to be about looking at your life, figuring out what it is that is conflicting with the life that you want to live, and that will be your life compared to your goals and outcomes, your ideal version of what God wants for you to do as an individual. The way that you live in respect to your paradigms and your principles and the things that you believe in, right? So you got two. You got your own personal vision and mission, and then you have the principles that are universal, that are, this is the way that God expects all people to behave, baseline. And then you as an individual, I need you to go take that mountain. That's your thing to go do. And so we'll go into alignment, which will include, your values, your faith, your integrity. Then we'll talk about thriving. This will include all kinds of energy, your spiritual vitality, your physical health, your youthful enthusiasm. There is a way that somebody like a Caleb and a Joshua thought that was different from everybody else. And even when they were old men, they thought differently and they approached life in a unique way. And we're going to go and approach that. Then we're going to end with the topic of daring, which is about being courageous and doing exploits. And the framework and the structure right now is like this. On a Tuesday, I'm going to record what I call a monocast, where it's just talking head, just me going over an aspect of a topic. So with respect to clarity, 1 week I'm going to be talking about not overcommitting, being focused as an individual. 7 weeks later, in the 8th week, after I've gone through it and I'm back to clarity, I may very well be talking about vision for you as a leader to guide and direct the organization that you're in charge of. So that'll be on a Tuesday, where I do a talking head video. Then on a Thursday, I'm going to do an interview with somebody that's an expert in the field, right? So in this case here, on this Thursday, I've got a friend that's coming by, and we're going to talk about clarity. He runs a company that's currently doing something in the neighborhood of $20 million a year. And he runs a fair amount of meetings. I want to have a discussion with him about keeping the meeting on track, having clarity in a meeting, but I also want to talk to him about getting clarity from people, because one of the most frustrating things that you'll have happen is having a discussion where you have a definition of a word, somebody else seems to be using that word, but they're using it in a different way, and you can't get them to describe exactly what that word means. And so they keep using it in a vague way, and they keep communicating in a poor way. And so we're going to explore clarity in a few different ways with him. Now, this is where I hope that my format is, I don't care that it's unique, I just care that it's helpful. So on the following Tuesday, so I've done Tuesday a monocast, Thursday an interview. Tuesday, I'm going to do another monocast because I've been thinking about what I got out of the interview. I've been reading more stuff, watching more stuff, and I should be able to go a little bit deeper on the delivery of this topic. And then on the following Thursday, I'm going to have a buddy of mine, and I'm probably going to cycle a couple guys through, but one will definitely be my primary, and that's Toby Johnson. And we're going to sit down and we're going to go. By this time, he will have watched the interview at the least, and then we're going to discuss that, and we're going to like say, man, you know, like I want him to tell me what questions he wished that I would have asked. We're going to, it won't be a critique of the person. It will be a, wow, I really liked what they had to say, and I wish I would have heard more about that. And I also would like to put my own spin and take on what they had to say. And then the two of us will have a discussion on the topic of clarity, what it means, how it affects people, how vagueness affects people, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to start out this first one just talking a little bit about clarity. I've got a few quotes here that that I want to start out with because I love a good quote. Some of the quotes are generally so helpful. Most of the reason why quotes are so helpful is because they take an idea that's complex and they strip it down and they simplify it. And they capture an idea so well that people take that idea and they pass it around in that format in a really short quote. So so as much as my whole podcast is ideally targeted toward men that are in their 20s and their 30s and maybe into their 40s, I was told, and I believe it's true, that the people that you're most able to help are the people that you once were. And I feel that I can most help people that are in their 20s and in their 30s and even into their 40s, because there's a whole lot of people, there's a whole lot of confusion that happens at those ages. And I try to maintain relationships with people that are of that age and pay attention to people that are of that age. And I see a lot of people that are unfortunately just written off that are in those age groups, and they shouldn't be. I remember how confused I was in my 20s, and how when I hit my 30s, I just knew that I was going to have it all figured out. And then when I hit my 40s, I was convinced that I was going to have it all figured out. And at 54, it's amazing how much life there still is left that I am kind of perplexed by. And so what I can help people with is raising kids, is being a good husband, is being reliable. And so with that, let me just jump right in. I've given enough preamble, way too much preamble. Okay, so Bruce Lee said, "The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus." And I love this quote. He has like a mystique that is that like I don't really know that much about Bruce Lee except for he's got this mystique of being this guy that was super focused and relentless and bore down on things and couldn't be deterred from his practices and developing his thing. And what I love about this is the thing is for most people, what they don't know is that if you've ever met anybody that's really successful, the thing that a lot of them have is focus. That's the one thing that a lot of them have going for them. They're terrible at 99 things, but there's two things that they're very, very good at. They don't even try to become good at all of this. The generalist actually doesn't get a whole lot done. The specialist, that's the one that that gets things done. And the specialist, the guy that runs an organization or is very good at that's famous and that sort of thing, they may be only good at singing. The greatest athletes that we have in our sports generally play offense or they play defense. It's an extremely rare thing to that's part of what made Michael Jordan was that he was a defensive player of the year and an offensive player of the year. He did all of this stuff all at one time. That isn't anything to be emulated. We should be trying to bear down on our part. And if we're going to lead, we need to become very good at doing our part, delegating, and finding out what those handful of things are that we can do, that only we can do. So one of the hacks and one of the frameworks that I use is the idea that, hey, you know what? How would you approach this if your doctor told you that you could only work 4 hours a day, but you knew that you still needed to get your work done? If you could only work 4 hours a day and at 4 hours and 1 minute, you would just die, and you knew that to be true, it would cause you to go back and reset and figure out how you're going to get stuff done. It would cause you to focus. And that will help you prioritize, which is part of being focused. You need to prioritize. You need to keep track of all of the stuff that you do and make it concise. What is it that you're going to do? I love this about the Apostle Peter. When one of the things that so Peter's one of these guys that's in the upper room. They have the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Thousands and thousands of people come to Jesus. And then shortly later, they have this dispute about, people not getting served, tables not being wiped down and whatnot. And they say, Pete, come on, join us. You got to help us out. And he's like, that isn't my job. My job is to do this. Now, most people in his position would have been, whoa, 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 like people are going to leave, and they would have been angsty about it, especially because at that time there would have been a massive leadership shortage. That would have been a time when leaders and like there would have been massive amounts of chaos in an organization that exploded overnight like that. And Pete says, no, this is my lane and I'm staying in it. And there's no record of him saying, go figure it out. But in essence, I think that that's what he said. Hey, go figure it out. You guys can do this. Figure out how to get those tables taken care of. Okay, figure out how to get these people squared away. Okay, Leonardo da Vinci said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And this is another one that I really love. When around my shop, around the business that I run, I try to make sure that whatever we do, we keep it as simple as possible, and we try to make sure that it is no more complex than it needs to be. I was in a meeting a little bit ago, and we were having a discussion. We were looking over some numbers from a spreadsheet and from some reports, and somebody had made a comment, and we could see by looking at the forms that we were missing some information, that we could do with some more information. And I had just made the comment kind of offhand that our whatever kinds of reports we get, they need to give us the information that we need and nothing more. Our systems need to be no more complex than we are. And I believe that that's very true. Sometimes we wind up capturing way more information than we need. We wind up getting buried in information, which is actually, one of the tactics of the devil, is that he winds up inspiring us with the idea that more is better, but it's not. More is just more. And if I dump lots of information into my computer will slow down. It is really just like having too many windows open on your computer. You just slow down. And in the same way that, yes, it's true, you can chew bubble gum and talk, because they're two completely different systems. But if you start putting in one podcast in one ear and one podcast in another ear, you're not going to hear anything at all. You're immediately going to be overwhelmed, because your processing system isn't designed to take on that. And you need to focus, you need to do things sequentially, and you need to prioritize those things that you're going to do. So part of the reason for this podcast, the thing that's on my list, the thing that drives me, is that there are a lot of people that are confused and disoriented, especially young men. Our society almost seems to root against young men. Almost seems to send the message that life is easy for you. So if you're struggling, it's because you suck. And I want to counter that message, and I want to help equip men and tell them that, you know what, that you are important, that you have a unique place in the world, and that you're going to have to tune them out. And there's just no other way around it. You by yourself can't change the world, and it's not your job. Your job is to be faithful, reliable, and you have some things that make you so that you can do cool stuff. If you're on a mission, if you have a mission statement, you should be saying no to things. There will come opportunities that you should be saying no to. And it's just vital that you're doing that. If you don't say no, if you don't, if you're not saying no, then you really need to look at what you're doing, because you're very, very likely to be doing a bunch of stuff that's in conflict with your mission. And maybe not in direct conflict, like it's working against you. It's just sucking energy and using up time that you could be spending on your focused brick, your focused piece of your contribution to the world. Okay, so that's about all I got. I had a long intro, and some of this stuff I'm going to be using in the second video as after I've gotten my my interview done. I hope you got something from it. If you did, let me know. And let me know if it is of benefit and how it, specifically how it helped you. And I would appreciate that. I am, as much as I would like to say that, that I'm capable of going it alone, it is sort of my tendency. I would really prefer not to. I would prefer this developing into a almost a club, but I'd like it to develop into a community that people encourage each other with. Eventually, I want to do live events, and I want to do group coaching, and some of these podcasts. My goal is to make them live and to make them super interactive, and to make it so that I actually require an extra person just to field questions, and so that me and my guest can answer them. So anyway, thanks for your time. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it, and I value it, and I don't take it for granted. You could be doing something else, and if this benefited you, let me know. If you know people that it would benefit, pass it along. All right, and I will catch you later. Bye bye.